this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So we're here for another one of our mass making sessions. We are up to week number 231, would you believe? So yes, we have done the first 100 weeks. We did the second 100 weeks. We're now on to the third lot of 100 weeks. So 231. Now I'm having a look at my iPad to make sure I get the name right of what we're making. We're making scrap paper flowers. That's what we're making today. Scrap paper flowers. So if you would like to join in making the scrap paper flowers for your junk journals, what are you going to need? You're going to need a variety of papers. Now, I have brought along printables, and I say this every week. I've brought along printables because that's what I predominantly have these days. You do not have to use printables. Use whatever you've got to hand. A few kind of pointers or tips really that I would kind of suggest is you don't want anything too thick. Equally, you don't want anything too flimsy. But something that's going to be kind of like reasonably easy to, you know, bend and fold, which you're going to see once we get started. So mine are all on 110 GSM paper. So they are 110 GSM paper. They are either single-sided or they are single-sided and then I've coffee dyed them. Now, weirdly, I do find that the coffee dyeing seems to help these become a bit more textury. So, you know, it's up to you really whether you want to go through the process of coffee dyeing them. I have got, like I say, some that are, you know, plain on the back and obviously some that are coffee dyed. So play around and experiment, but you may prefer the coffee dyed ones, but I realise that's a bit of a laborious process just to, you know, just to make paper flowers. I've also got an envelope here. Now, the envelope page that I'm using, it's quite flimsy. It's, you know, just one of those brown envelopes, but it's quite a flimsy kind of texture. Now, the other thing that's really great for using to make these flowers is like a paper bag. Now, for some reason, and I didn't have the paper bags last time that we did these, and I don't seem to have any now either. We don't that often get paper bags in the UK, or certainly not where I shop, unfortunately. We tend to get plastic bags. So, yeah, I don't really have any paper bags, particularly paper bags that I'd want to use for this. I've got one or two white ones, but I didn't want to then have to kind of dye them specifically for this. And sometimes they can be a little bit thick, you know, the very durable paper bags, they're going to be too thick for this. So if you've got paper bags, I'd recommend the kind of thinner ones, or like I say, you could use like envelope paper. So that's quite good to use. You're then going to want something to use to make bases for your flowers. Now, I've just got here a scrap. This is some old, you know, vintage document. You could use something like that. I've got some book page and things. Anything at all to just put as a base. It really doesn't matter at all. You're not going to see the base. It's simply to stick your petals onto. Okay, so that's paper. You're going to need some scissors or maybe a paper trimmer, depending on, you know, whether you feel comfortable using your scissors or prefer to use a paper trimmer. You're going to be tearing the petals down, again, unless you prefer to perhaps cut them. Personally, I haven't ever made them with cut edges, so I don't know what that would look like. I think maybe an alternative to cutting with straight edges would maybe be like some of those decorative edge scissors. Maybe that would make a nice edge. I don't know. I haven't tried it. But, you know, if you're somebody who prefer not to tear, maybe you might want to experiment with some, you know, fancier scissors. Aside from that, you're going to want some distress ink if you like the vintage look. I would recommend this because when you're tearing the paper, if you're going to tear it, you may sometimes get like the inner white edge, see here, and this is going to obviously cover it up. So, you know, it's up to you, but that's a kind of tip really. You're going to want some glue. Now, again, I'm using my hot glue. My glue gun's very dirty, so I do apologise for that. Now, I always use the same glue gun. I've had plenty of these over my years. It's a Bosch, it's a PKP, I think it's a 13E or an 18E. I can't actually see, I'm afraid, so I'm so sorry. But I think it's listed in my video description. This has got a nice kind of, you know, fine-ish nozzle, which makes it quite easy to make the flowers. But use whatever glue gun that you've got. Now, if you haven't got a glue gun, you possibly would be able to use some form of other glue. Personally, I haven't ever tried making paper flowers with, you know, like a wet glue. you know, by all means do try it, but it may just make your process quite time consuming because you're going to have to really kind of press them down to keep them, you know, stuck in. So I would recommend really a hot glue, you know, ideally. And then you're going to want something for your centres. Now, I've got these gems, which I bought them a long time ago and I've struggled to use them. Oops, because they've got like this little ledge, if you can see that, which sort of makes them unsuitable for some projects because, you know, they're not kind of completely flat. But these paper flowers will be ideal for using these because they're going to bury a little bit in the centre of the flowers. Aside from those, I've got some flat back pearls. Now, again, and I have used flat back pearls, you know, each time we've made these. I love the flat back pearls. And I mean, I've used them for literally years and years and years. But I still really like them now. Those always are a winning look, I think. So the large flat back pearls. So yeah, they're kind of adhesive on the back. But again, I do always glue them down. So that's kind of the centre ideas. Another alternative would be, of course, buttons. So I do have some buttons. I'm not sure whether I will actually use any buttons for centres. That one's actually got a shank on it, so possibly, you know, possibly not the best, you know, choice of button. But, you know, experiment around using whatever you've got. I mean, I've got a bright button there. That might look quite cute. Just experiment and see what you fancy. I personally probably prefer the slightly more blingy look, but of course, you know, depends kind of on your particular taste. So how do we make these? Let's have a look. I'm going to do kind of, you know, a couple as a tutorial and a demonstration, and then we'll obviously do our normal format of relaxing and, you know, kind of mass making these. So first of all, what you want to do is cut a little circle which you're going to stick your petals on. Now, again, you could use a, you know, a circle punch for this. Personally, I don't really mind just free cutting it, or, you know, freestyling cutting it, because you're not going to see the circle. So it really doesn't matter. If it's not a perfect circle, that's fine. You're not going to see it. Okay. So pop that down there. Now I'm going to just use this paper here. This is from my Clocks collection papers. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tear a strip. So I'm going to use my straight edge, if you see what I mean, as what's going to be the centre of the petals. Now I'm going to just go along here and tear down a row or a line, you know, of this paper. Now it doesn't matter at all, you know, how you're doing this. It doesn't have to be uniformy. I mean, as you can see, mine's gone way in here. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. You can kind of get around it when you fold it, or might just tear that bit off. So don't kind of get too stressed and worried about how your, you know, how your tearing is coming along. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tear my petals down. Now, I like to just squish them in like here in the, as I said, the straighter edge. Okay, so we're just literally taking our paper and squishing it in like that. Okay, so that's creating a little row of petals. Now then what I like to do is just tear them down like that. Now these are going to glue onto our circle like this. Now you may be somebody who, you know, like who peels the apple and you can just do it like in one whole complete thing. You may be somebody who can do that. I personally, you know, don't make great results like this. So I like to just tear mine in. Now, can you see here where I've got that, you know, where I made that muck up? So if I alter my folding like that, it's still workable. And then here, obviously, I've gone back to normal because, of course, it's, you know, it's kind of back to normal, if that makes sense. So like that, they don't have to be perfect. You know, we're not looking for perfection here. All right. So, whoops, we're squishing these in like this and like that. Okay. And then take this one and again just squish this one in like that. Now when I make these, I tend to put 4 sections, so I'm going to have to cut another one. So what I'll do, I'm just going to cut this down here to give myself a straight edge. And then I'll go in and tear another row. So like that. And then again, just tear down along there. And to be honest, I might just do that because I only need that fourth little, you know, little section of petals. So like that. Again, I've got a bit jaggedy, you know, rubbish tearing. So I've again kind of squished it out to get it looking a bit more, you know, a bit more level on the edge, like that. Okay. So this is my first little section of petals for layer 1. Okay. So I just now go in, pop some glue down onto those like that. And again, you know, I can then squish them in when I put them on. Now, I like to put them sort of opposite each other to start. So go in like this. And then like that. And again, you know, here you can pull your petals out. So if you've got sort of, you know, a section that needs kind of a bit of tweaking, when you're gluing, you could kind of like pull your petals out and things like that. So, you know, they're very malleable. Malleable? I'm not sure what that word is. I apologise for that. Yeah, it sounded good in my head, and then when I said it I thought, I'm not sure that's how you say that. So again, just kind of like, you know, pull your petals out and adjust your flower accordingly, like that. Okay, and then the last little section. So I've built up my whole first layer of my flower. Now what I want to do is obviously make a second layer to put on top. So again, just tear this down. Now for your second layer, you may want to make it slightly sort of shorter or shallower so that it sits within here. Again, you know, play around, because you might find that actually if you put these spread out on the edge of your circle, they can pretty much be the same size. So just kind of sort of adjust it as you've glued them down, if you see what I mean. So because if you make these too small and you've stuck your pieces on the very edge of your circle, then obviously it's not going to work then. So, you know, kind of see how works best for you. So that's my first little run. Okay, this one's a bit tiny, but never mind. Like that. Now I tend to normally do just like a sort of row of 3 in the middle. I may not be able to do that on this one because it might be that actually this needs more than 3. We'll again sort of see in a second. I might have to cut this one down a bit because perhaps I've done that a bit tall. Like that. Okay. And then just again squish this in. Oops. Like that. So they are a little bit fiddly, as you can probably see. But to be honest, once you get kind of more in the zone, you know, it becomes a little bit easier to do. I'm probably making a little bit of a hash of these because I haven't really made them for a long time. So I'm a little bit out of practice, if I'm truthful. But, you know, very, very easy. And you can see I'm only squishing in the inner edge. I'm not squishing in the outer edge at all. So again, just pop your glue on there and then just pop that down. So 1. And do you see what I'm saying? In an ideal world, you want your petals in slightly. You don't really want them at the same, you know, outer edge, if you see what I mean, as your other ones. So, you know, try and put them in. I mean, actually, because I did quite long strips, I think I might get away with just 2. Although I have got a slight gap there, so I'll fill that in with my third piece of paper. So like that. Pop that one in there. Like that. Okay. So squish that in. And then I've just got this little space here, so I'm just going to go in with this tiny bit here. Okay, and I just want to fill that space there. Okay, looking good. Looking good, looking good. And then I'm going to just ink this up so as it looks a little bit more, you know, grungy. And also this gives your petals a bit more definition of where the, you know, the two layers are, if you see what I mean. So you can probably see my inner petals are now kind of a bit more visible due to the, you know, the inking up. So like that, and then just grab my little centers. Shall we have ivory one, or shall we go for like a contrasting one? Let's see. I've got these lovely olive green ones. Actually, I also have these dark blue. They might look quite nice. Let me try those. Hold on. Oops. Oh my goodness, I can't get hold of these for some reason. Let's have a look at that blue one. Oh my gosh, that's pretty nice, isn't it? Ooh, so's that. Right, I'm going to go for the blue. So just literally pop that in like that. Okay, and you can probably see where, you know, where I said that you've got then a little bit of room that you can kind of wiggle that in. So, you know, if you've got anything that you need to use up, I mean, like I pulled out that button with a shank, that possibly would even squish in there. I don't know. But yeah, aren't they just such gorgeous flowers? So they're a little bit on the fiddly side, but they are kind of worth it. And like I say, once you get kind of making a few, it's surprising how then you do get quite in the zone of making them. So let me do one more, you know, tutorial, and then we'll kind of just relax and have a bit of fun mass making some. So that's my circle. Let's do a completely different colour one now, so that we've just got, you know, a completely different look. So I'm just going to tear this down here. Now this one hasn't been coffee dyed, so we'll see how this one goes. Oops. Like that. Okay, so I'm just going to get squishing this in. Oops. Like that. So again, just squishing on the straight edge, you know, the inner edge, like that. Okie dokie. Like that, and then just take that one down. So we've got that on. Tear this. Otherwise it was a lot of white showing on there. Okay. Oops. Oh, very fiddly, this one. So I personally am finding this a bit more fiddly, having not been coffee dyed. Maybe that's not what the difference is, but definitely for me, this is seeming a little bit more fiddly. So it could be that it's not been coffee dyed. It might be, you know, might be nothing to do with that. But yeah, I feel like it's a little bit more fiddly than the first one. Okay. That being said, I tore this. This was a scrap. So these are pretty good for using scraps of paper, but I tore the scrap, what would have been the long side edge of the paper. And weirdly enough, and I have noticed this before, the paper seems to want to tear much better from the long edge rather than the short edge. Again, don't know whether that varies paper brand to paper brand, but having said that, I've noticed that before. So it must be common amongst, you know, quite a few paper brands at least. So right, so that's my 4 little rows of petal. I might not even need 4 because these are quite long. So, you know, again, just kind of like play it by ear and see how they go. So those, I mean, to be honest, this one I might even just get away with 2 because I obviously have you know, torn these quite long. So like that. Okie dokie, and squish that down there like that. Okay. Oops. like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now then is put these ones inside. So kind of more squishing them into the inner piece. So although they've not been cut down, you know, they're just the same length, if you see what I mean. I'm putting them inside, which is then making them shorter than the other ones, if that makes sense. So again, just take this and then just, yeah, squish this one in, oops, in here, like that. Okie dokie. So, yep. Okay. So at this point, I mean, this one obviously is a much smaller flower than the other one, you know, because I've only done obviously the two sort of petals. I mean, it's probably governed a bit by my circle size, which I'd obviously done a smaller circle, but I do like it, to be honest. So yeah, I think it's rather cute, like that. And then we'll just have this in the middle. Like that. Just going to ink here. There we go. Aren't they just so cute? So I mean, just to show you the size, you know, comparison, I mean, that one's like practically half the size, isn't it, of the first one? But aren't they just so gorgeous? So, you know, to be honest, there's no kind of rhyme or not any, you know, there's no magic thing for the size they're going to turn out. But yeah, just have a variety ready to go, I suppose. So we're just going to kind of like mass make a bunch now. So all I'm going to do is kind of do all of my stages, my same stages at the same stage, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do all of my circle cuttings, then do all of my tearing of the strips, and then do all of my crinkling, and then do all of the gluing. So hopefully we're going to end up with, you know, a whole bunch ready made by the end. So just cut a few circles down, and like I say, just play around, and you know, if you've got some big ones and some small ones, that's absolutely fine. They're all going to be usable, but don't stress, they don't have to be perfect circles or anything like that. So, and anything at all, you know, is fine to use to make your circles. So I just happen to be using these couple of scraps. I may use some of these papers in a minute and cut some more. We'll see how kind of we get on. This might be more than enough, to be honest, because they are quite fiddly to make. So not sure how many I think I'm going to be making, but probably this is probably about the extent of it. So yeah, we'll just have a relax now and have a catch up. So I will try and make from different papers so they at least look, you know, look a bit different rather than all look the same. So yeah, so yeah, let's just relax now, have a catch up for the next kind of 45 minutes or so. So I hope that everybody's week has started out well. I always film this kind of on a Monday generally for you guys to go out on the Tuesday. So this is now coming up for lunchtime. I'm a bit later. I normally film it first thing, you know, after kind of my daughter's gone to school. But I'm filming it a bit later today because I've just moved back into my house after the Goodwood thing. So, and I know that, you know, oh, I've bored you all with that endlessly in the past, but yeah, for those people who don't really watch my channel, I'd rented my house out for a local event, and so I've only just that second got back in. Literally, the guests left at like 10 o'clock, so I've kind of got back in, and just going to tear this down. Yeah, I'm going to cut this down like this and then tear it, I think. So hope I don't regret this, because I've not got that much to play with here. Yeah, so the guests left at 10. Obviously I didn't want to turn up straight away at 10 in case they weren't out, so I must have got back at about 10:30. I'd had to just go and sit in a car park, you know, for an hour, well, an hour and a half after dropping my daughter off to school. So I just took Bo with me and we went and sat in a car park waiting until we could kind of like get back in. So yeah, and then came in. I've chucked some washing in, you know, stripped my bed, put the washing in. Yeah, first wash load. I have cleaned the downstairs toilet, and yeah, kind of like, well, that's as much as I've done. I've got to be truthful. That's as much as I've done so far, but obviously I have more cleaning yet to do. I'll chuck the hoover around and things, but yeah, kind of just wanted to get one wash load on, so that'll be a couple of hours because I like to do it on a good wash, you know. But yeah, so lots of cleaning again today, which is my worst thing ever, cleaning. But yeah, good to be back in the house. So Bo is asleep now in her little bed beside my desk. She's obviously like, yay, I'm home. I love being home, you know, because she obviously doesn't really understand. So, and again, for anyone who doesn't watch my channel, Bo, she's my little sausage dog. So yeah, she obviously got dragged out as well, and yeah, she probably thought, oh gosh, where are we going, where are we going? Although we've done it a few times now, so she maybe kind of thought, oh gosh, it's this time again. Yeah, wondering which way to do this. Might do it this way, I think. Yeah, so anyway, she's obviously pleased to be home, so that's really, really nice for her. So yeah, my daughter's obviously gone to school, so she hasn't been home yet, you know. Yeah, and obviously, you know, my son's at work, so that's kind of it. So we went and stayed with my sister for the weekend, and yeah, so this is Natalie, who obviously comes and, you know, works with me, and yeah, we had a really nice weekend. We had a lot of fun, actually. She's very funny, Natalie, so yeah, we had a good laugh. And yeah, we did have a lot of fun. Now the weather was absolutely diabolical, which was such a shame, because obviously, you know, people come from miles around, you know, for this event. And I mean, Friday was the first day for the event. It literally chucked it down with rain the entire day. I mean, like the entire day. You know, normally there's kind of a bit of the day where it's like, oh, you know, it cheered up a bit. No, not on Friday. It literally rained the entire day. So, you know, oh, just dreadful. So my sister and I were then lucky enough to go on Saturday. Now, the weather still wasn't brilliant, but it was obviously a massive improvement to Saturday, which had been, Friday, sorry, which had been, you know, this terrible rain. But it still wasn't great, to be honest. But what's more, there was so much mud everywhere. It was incredibly, incredibly muddy. So, yeah, I wasn't kind of overly enjoying. I drove and oh my goodness, I had to park like in a field. You know, they just have like fields for parking. There's about five fields that they use for the parking. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you, it was so muddy. And as soon as I kind of like pulled into the car park, I'm like on this muddy, you know, road, if you can call it that. And you obviously have to pull off of the muddy road onto like what would be the parking in the field. Well, as soon as we went in there, I saw this guy pull off like at the first point where you could pull off, and he's in a Porsche. So just, you know, and this might be a right sweeping statement that I'm making, but I would just assume a man in a Porsche is obviously quite an experienced driver, and I'm pretty sure drives a lot better than I can. And he's like skidding around in the mud, and I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to park if he's skidding around in the mud? How am I going to park? Or, you know, drive, manoeuvre, you know, on the mud. So I was straight away like thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be a nightmare. So I went really slowly, like kind of on this muddy path road thing, right to the end of the car park, where I just kept thinking, oh, well, hopefully it's going to be less muddy because there will have been less cars go right to the end. And then I'd be able to kind of like circle back and drive backwards kind of thing. Not, I don't mean drive backwards as in reverse. I just mean drive back up the field where not many people have driven. So thank goodness that was what I did, and it kind of panned out a bit better, so it wasn't as muddy. But yeah, on first glance I just thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to be driving across? Oh my goodness, look at my, I mean, that one, to be honest, might be a bit too ridiculous. So yeah, perhaps I'll leave it there. Yeah, I just at first glance thought, oh my gosh, I mean, if he's struggling to drive, you know, how am I going to be driving? If my car starts swerving, I'll just be like, you know, swerving into another car, quite frankly. So yes, was not really great. But anyway, we got dressed up, and yeah, we had a nice time. But I mean, we didn't go until pretty late in the day and things like that, because the weather had been, you know, so awful. So yeah, it was a shame, really was a shame. But anyway, I mean, we still, you know, we still had a nice time, so that was all fine. And then I'm trying to think, really. Yeah, I think we must have gone there at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was okay, you know, going at that time. And the good thing is all the traffic had gone by that time. Whereas, like, if you go, I mean, some people, they're like lunatics. They go there at 7:30 in the morning and they stay right till the end of the day, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was really quite chilly. So there was no way that we were going to be doing that. So, right, I'm going to just tear this down here, I think. Yeah, there was no way that we were going to be doing that. But yeah, some people do. But the good thing is, obviously, because we didn't go till about 2 in the afternoon, there wasn't really much traffic. There was a bit, but not too bad. So that was good. And then I think we left there maybe about 7, something like that. So yeah, not too kind of late or anything. So Natalie, she got sort of merry. I mean, I don't drink at all, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been getting merry even if I hadn't been driving. But yeah, I was driving anyway, so yeah, she got quite merry. So she was being quite amusing and quite funny, you know, even more so than normal. And then, yeah, we obviously went back home. My mum and dad had looked after the kids, so her son and my daughter. So yeah, that was really nice. And then my mum and dad, they went up there yesterday. And actually, to be honest, they had the best weather. I mean, it started out yesterday was absolutely grim as well. And I thought, oh gosh, it's going to be another terrible day. And then weirdly, it suddenly cheered right up, and it must have been about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was gorgeous. And I thought, oh, you know, wish that we were there kind of thing, because it was so lovely by the afternoon. But yeah, I mean, in the morning, it had again started out not great. And I just thought, oh, all those poor people who have gone there. They've paid a fortune, obviously. They've travelled for miles, you know. And now the weather's, you know, really rubbish. So, yeah, not really very good. But, you know, the thing is, you can't sort of account for the weather, can you? You can prepare for everything, but you can't prepare for the weather. So it is what it is, really. But yeah, I mean, people do come from all over. So yeah. But oh, it feels good to be back home, I must say. So now I really must get on top of our mess. And I say it every single year. I must get on top of our mess, so that when we do this again, you know, or if we moved house or anything like that, it's going to be much easier to do any of those things, you know. And let's be honest, just be nicer to live in a non-messy environment. But oh, it's easier said than done, isn't it? So yeah, but I'm gonna try. So yeah, that's kind of the you know, the highlight of my day is obviously moving back in. I have to say, it's freezing cold in the house. So I mean, obviously it's only the first week of September. Well, I guess we've just gone into the second week of September, so can't really be, you know, putting the heating on or anything. But oh my goodness, it's very chilly in here. Feels like the heating really could do with going on. But yeah, we won't put the heating on yet, but I might have to just put my onesie on over my clothes. You know, yeah. Who knows. Right, I'm making a really bad job of this. I think obviously a little bit chaotic, you know, because I've obviously got the cleaning to do, but hopefully you can get the gist of what should be going on with these petals, even if it's not really in my case, but yeah. Oh, right. So yeah, I didn't really do anything else, obviously, like, you know, because by the whole of last week was really spent just cleaning and packing and getting ready for moving out. And yeah, so I haven't really done anything. I haven't really watched anything. You know, the whole week's just been kind of dominated by the whole, you know, moving out to rent the house out. So yeah, unfortunately, no TV recommendations, no anything, which is really rubbish, isn't it? Okay. Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who purchased the frames printables on my launch video. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they're still for sale. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone who purchased them. I do have some other videos coming up with some other things that we're doing with those that are incorporating some other things. So hopefully some other little ideas for using some other things that you may all have in your stash already. But yeah, I hope that you guys are having fun, anyone who purchased them. I've used them loads, like since I did those. I have used them a lot. They've been very, very fun to use. Did I cut that? Yeah. They've been very fun to use, and I love a frame, to be honest. Always love a frame. So yeah, very versatile, and just make things pull together like really, really, really easily. So when I dropped my daughter at school this morning, so I dropped her to school. So I'd left Natalie's house, you know, my sister's house, and obviously all our stuff is, you know, chucked into my car. I'm in my car, you couldn't literally move, you know. So there's me and my daughter and Beau, and, you know, quite frankly, nobody else would have fitted in anyway. Nobody and nothing, you know. So we come, you know, past her school, or, you know, to her school and everything, and I'm dropping her off. And I dropped her off, it was 8:30. So I had an hour and a half, like, left until, obviously, the guests move out. And like I said, I didn't want to turn up straight away at 10 o'clock in case they were still there. So, you know, really, I kind of had a couple of hours, because I thought, well, I wouldn't really go there until about 10. And already I was bursting for the loo, and I thought, oh gosh, now I really need the toilet. And of course, Beau can't really go in anywhere, which is such a shame. And I've talked about this loads of times, but, you know, kind of before we got Beau, I felt like I was forever seeing dogs in places. And then actually, once we got her, I discovered that actually dogs can't really go in many places at all. So it's such a shame. And yeah, I thought, well, where am I going to go to the toilet? You know, how am I going to go to the toilet now? So I just had to go to like a car park where they had a public toilets, and yeah, just quickly park up and run in and go to the loo. You know, take Beau with me into the cubicle and go to the toilet. But I then thought, oh gosh, I hope there's not a traffic warden around already and going to give me a parking ticket, because obviously I didn't pay for parking or anything to go to the toilet. Because I thought, I'm not going to now get a ticket for like half an hour just to go to the toilet for a couple of seconds. Anyway, thankfully I didn't. But yeah, the traffic wardens, I mean, they're out all the time, out in force trying to get people. So yeah, I would have been really, really peeved if I'd have come out and then got a ticket already. So thank the Lord I didn't. But, you know, kind of like, you don't really think about things like this, you know, until you're out with a dog. And then it's like, oh, even the most simple things, like just going to the loo, become really like, you know, a kind of military operation. And you kind of think, oh, where am I going to go to the toilet? You know, how am I going to go? So yeah, I was kind of like just thinking, oh, where could I go where there might be somebody I know, you know, and I could say to them, oh, would you be able to just, you know, hold Beau while I go to the toilet? You know, I mean, it's not even like she, you know, she can't go in a supermarket or anywhere. So yeah, I just thought, oh gosh, how am I going to go to the loo now? And then I suddenly thought, oh, actually, you know, there's a car park quite nearby, and I thought they've got a block of public toilets, so I'll just go in there. And actually, I have to say they were surprisingly clean. I mean, I haven't really been in a public toilet other than like in a cafe or a shop or something. haven't been in an actual public toilet out and about, you know, for years. And I have to say, I was quite pleasantly surprised. It was very clean. So, yeah. And, I mean, thank goodness there was one. To be honest, because I thought, oh, that's a long time to be sat thirsting for the loo. 2 hours, you know, especially as I thought I'm going to have to go and just get a coffee or something and sit and wait with a coffee until I can get back in my house. So I thought, oh gosh, more liquid going in. Yeah, I know, too much information there probably, and you know, probably not the greatest thing to be chatting about, but yeah, I just kind of thought, oh no, how am I going to go? But yeah, anyway, Bo was such a good girl. She just comes out with me, you know. Probably thought, oh my goodness, where's Mum dragging me now? Oh, the things that I have to do. Oh, she's no trouble. She's such a good girl. I just love her so much. Oops. Yeah, I'm not making a good job of these today. I'm really sorry. I'm very, you know, having a bad day at the office, I think. So, yeah. Very bad day at the office. There we go. But to be honest, I mean, these flowers, they are very, very forgiving. So, you know, kind of, even though it may look like I'm making a right hash of folding these in, and don't get me wrong, I completely am, they will hopefully, you know, turn out okay. So, yeah, even though they look like a, you know, pig's ear when I'm folding them in, they will hopefully kind of like turn out okay. Which, I mean, I just love a craft project like that actually turns out fine, even if it's in the process been pretty awful. You know, nobody wants to do something that's going to turn out rubbish, especially if it's a little bit on the fiddly side to make. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, when I was at Natalie's, so she said, oh, look at this. So she found this guy who, he just does these like food vlog things. And he said, oh, you know, he's got this really sort of distinct voice. Let's just say a distinct voice. And he just does this. So he says, take an egg and, you know, so in this case, he said, take an avocado, take an egg, take, what was the other thing? Oh, some cacao powder, and what was the other thing? Oh, and some sweetener. Mix it up and then put it in the oven. So Natalie said, you know, oh, look at this. She said, you know, shall I make one of these? So we were like, oh, yeah, you know. Oh, my goodness. So she said, oh, I must admit, I've put in 2 eggs. She put in 2 eggs, and then she put in 2 eggs and, oh, 2 avocados she'd done, because there was obviously, you know, she was making it for the 4 of us. So she said, oh, you know, I've put in 2 eggs. Oh my goodness. Couldn't even eat it. I had to spit it out into the bin. It literally tasted like chocolate scrambled egg. Yuck, yuck, yuck. So I don't know really what had gone wrong. I mean, yeah, I've no idea. So I said, let's read through the comments and see what other people have said, because, you know. So we read through the comments, and sure enough, a lot of people were like, oh, yuck, you know, not good. 1 or 2 people had said, oh my gosh, this is brilliant, I make it all the time, which we were like, what? I'm going to just take this leaf off here, actually. Yeah, 1 or 2 people had said, oh, these are so good, I make them all the time. We were like, really? Because, wow, that was not good at all. It was really vile. Oh, hang on a second, the door. Hold on. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Right, okay, so I'm going to just start gluing them onto the circles now, because I did actually just check the time, and to be honest, I'm up to 44 minutes. So yeah, best start gluing the circles, you know, the petals onto the circles. Yeah, so I'm not sure where I got to on that story, but basically she had used 2 eggs instead of 1, and wow, it just tasted like, honestly, chocolate flavoured scrambled egg. Absolutely horrible. Literally vile. So yeah, would not recommend that recipe if you've seen it at all and thought, oh, I wonder what that's like. Not good. So yeah, but I mean, to be fair, you know, maybe with one egg, who knows, maybe it was the 2 eggs that kind of spoilt it. I'm not sure, but wow, it was not good. So yeah, nobody liked it. The children didn't like it, we didn't like it. So but we did laugh about it and said, well, you know, it was worth a try, wasn't it? So yeah, and it was a shame because obviously it would have been like a really healthy thing for us to be you know, eating as a sort of pudding. And weirdly, I did say to my sister, because you can do this avocado chocolate pudding, yeah, avocado chocolate pudding, obviously without an egg, and that's absolutely scrumptious. So I've made it in the past. It's just like in the blender, and it's like with I think I've put dates in it as a sweetener, but you could also put, you know, honey or syrup or, you know, anything like that. I'm just kind of going to mix some of these layers up so as I get some different colours going on. Yeah, so you could use sweetener, you could use dates, you know, anything really, and that's actually really lovely. So it was a bit of a shame, but to be fair, you're obviously not cooking that, and certainly you're not cooking egg. So I mean, it's the egg obviously that was the spanner in the works, because by the time you cooked that, and you just cooked it, you know, in the microwave, the egg obviously cooked, and you know, then the egg was like a scrambled egg, like I said. So yeah, it was not good. Right, now I'm thinking this is going to be way too big, so I might have to, oh, there we go, that one's better, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, anyway, disappointing. Okay, and I have to say, a couple of weeks before we've moved out, I hope I'm not repeating myself, I've definitely told some of my friends about this recipe, so I hope that I'm not kind of like now retelling the story to you, my lovely lady friends in our group. Yeah, I hope I'm not repeating myself. So a couple of weeks before we'd moved out, my sister had also seen a recipe for what was called protein bread, referred to as protein bread, and it was just literally made using oh no, sorry, it was called cloud bread, made just using, oh, I mustn't do this, I must stick to my assembly line style making. So yeah, it was made using just egg whites. So it was called cloud bread, made using just egg whites. And again, had very high hopes for this recipe. And you watch the videos and they honestly make these things look amazing. You know, I mean, it literally looked like the most lovely, delicious bread. So again, thought, oh, amazing. You know, we're going to have this lovely, healthy bread that we're all going to be just living on. Oh my goodness. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Could not have been worse. Again, it was the egg that was the issue, which obviously the egg was all that went in the cloud bread. So it wasn't like you had any other kind of options really with the cloud bread, but literally the egg just didn't really cook. So all that you had was this weird, on the outside looked kind of like it was cooked. So it was like, oh, again, high hopes, because like yesterday's pudding smelt lovely and chocolatey, kind of like sliced up, looking like it was going to be lovely and chocolatey. It was only the taste that was like, well, it was lovely and chocolatey, but it was the texture of the scrambled egg. But so the cloud bread, it had been like appearance wise on the outside looked like bread, you know, and then the texture on the inside, yuck, was like yeah, kind of like, again, a bit just like hard-boiled egg really. So it's the egg. It's definitely kind of like temperamental to get the egg to actually do anything other than go like a hard-boiled egg or a scrambled egg type texture. So yeah, very disappointing, to be honest. But yeah, definitely I will stick to just like the sort of more raw recipes, you know, that you're sort of making a blender and then, you know, like that, because they, I think, are more successful. It's, I'm not necessarily saying when you cook it. I think when you cook it using egg, that's when there's an issue. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe you could substitute the egg for something else. I don't know. You know, let us know below in the chat. Have you ever made either the cloud bread using just the egg whites, and what were your results? Or the chocolate fudgy chocolate brownie thing using the avocado, but also, you know, adding an egg to it? How did yours turn out? Was it better than ours? Because yeah, ours not great at all, you know. And like I say, very disappointing, because, you know, you get all excited, don't you, and think, oh my goodness, this is going to be the answer to our prayers. We are going to be like living on this cloud bread now, you know. Which I don't know about you guys. I don't generally kind of eat bread because, you know, obviously it's very fattening and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be like amazing. I'm going to be suddenly eating bread all the time, you know. No, not at all. And it's disappointing because unlike the avocado pudding thing, which actually didn't really take very long to cook, the cloud bread was in the oven for a fair amount of time. So of course there was the anticipation of, oh my goodness, what's it going to turn out like, you know. And we all kept on like, you know, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, this is true, opening the oven. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, that's where they went wrong. Keep opening the oven. But honestly, it had risen on the outside and all of that. So I don't think the oven was actually the issue. Oops, look at that great big wodge of glue that I've just flicked in. Yeah, I don't think it was the actual opening the oven that caused the issue. I think it was literally the whole weird kind of egg white consistency on the inside that was the actual issue. So yeah, disappointing, very disappointing. I guess, you know, the real thing is just there isn't really a substitute for bread, really, you know, like a sort of, I don't know, carb free, would you call it? Or I don't know. Anyway, yeah, disappointing, because I mean, I do love bread, to be honest, you know, as do most people, obviously. Okay. But you watch these recipes and, you know, you kind of think, oh my goodness, that looks incredible. And I would like to try their version of them, because, I mean, have theirs come out good? Because if they have, you know, what have we done wrong? But if they haven't, then why have they, you know, why have they posted them as a recipe? I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure. Anyway. Right, this is a bit annoying because I've actually not really got, I've not really kind of ruffled up enough of the same sort of colours. So I'm going to have to now ruffle up a couple more. I've been obviously very shoddy with my, you know, calculations of how many I need, you know, per flower, if you see what I mean. So yeah, a bit irritating. Right, there we go. I'm gonna have to do a bit of food shopping as well, so very annoying. I will do the food shopping when my daughter gets home from school. So yeah, just need a few kind of like essential things, because obviously everywhere's kind of bare now, you know, because we'd sort of worked our, or used our stuff, you know, and emptied our fridge and freezer and all that out as much as we could, so that it was, you know, not kind of like piled high with food. And not that it was piled high with food anyway, but yeah. So now, of course, we've got like nothing. I've got a cucumber. I did buy some milk, and weirdly another cucumber this morning before I left my sister's. So, you know, because I was aware that I would have obviously Bo with me, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to stop and get milk or anything because she's not allowed in any shops. But yeah, so very strange things that I've got currently in the fridge. Let's do that one. Yeah, I'm obviously a bit out of practice with my crafting, so I do apologise. My flowers look really scruffy. But to be honest, like I said before, even though they look really scruffy, they do look quite cute when they're finished still. So, you know, don't be too deterred. They still do look, you know, pretty cute in the end, even if they look pretty shoddy while you're making them. There we go. Those. And then I'll just do a couple more. So what other papers did I have here? Okay, got this purple. There we go. It's so cold. I've turned my little fan heater on now because yeah, the house is really cold. I've put on another cardigan, so I've now got my dress and 2 cardigans on, layering up my cardigans. Right, there we go. I'm just going to tear that down because I'm coming to the point where I'm struggling to, you know, make that look half decent. Okay, I'm just going to cut that down there. Whoops. Okie dokie. Yeah, I quickly took the bedding out, the first load of washing, when I was downstairs quickly answering the door. So, yeah, that's the first load now is out. I'm being really naughty and I'm using the tumble dryer because obviously I've got a lot of washing now. I don't generally use the tumble dryer because obviously it's very expensive, but yeah, I've put the bedding in the tumble dryer because, you know, I've obviously got a lot of washing, and now the weather is not really going to be drying the washing. You know, it's too cold. Our garden's not particularly big, and I've talked about this before, but yeah, it's very, very hot on a hot sunny day because it's not very big, you know, so there's no breeze or anything like that, so it's a lovely sun trap. But obviously if you're trying to get washing dry on a day like today where there's no sun, because there's no breeze, the washing obviously doesn't really dry. So, you know, it wouldn't really dry outside, and obviously without the heating on it's not going to dry inside. So yeah, it was kind of like, got no choice really but to put the tumble dryer on. So yeah, and then I put some towels in. So yeah, I've got another wash load in, so hopefully going to be getting on with the washing reasonably, you know, reasonably well. I have been very strange this year because, or not this year, but you know, this time around, because normally I'm very rigid and I would say that I always use 4 petals. Obviously, you know, I assume due to my scattiness today with the whole, oops, you know, my mind's on the cleaning really. I've been a bit hit and miss. So this one, for example, I've used 3 petals layered up. But that hopefully just goes to show how versatile these are, because, you know, there's no kind of fixed, oh, you must use 4 petals or anything. You know, I've used 3. And that's kind of been sufficient, and that's worked just as well as if I had used the 4. So yeah, they're pretty forgiving, as I said. So right, now this one I'm thinking maybe cut or tear this one down so that I've got smaller ones to put in there. Although to be honest, these are all going to look a bit the same, aren't they? Because they're all going to have these envelope colours in them, which is a bit boring. So perhaps I will use this, or actually I have got this, which is maybe a bit better because it's purple. So yeah, let's take this down. Okay, like that. Right, I'm not really assembly lining this, to be honest. I'm just, you know, just going with the flow with this one. Just gluing the petals as I'm folding them. Yeah, not being particularly efficient. And I do apologise, I also didn't obviously get a chance to really restock my website last week. So yeah, I will be restocking it this week. I have been working on the folio skeletons. I talked about those last week and said that I was going to try and get some more in the shop. I hadn't, but yeah, I have been doing some yesterday. So they will hopefully be in the shop in the next couple of days. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. If you missed out on those last time and you would like one, they should be in there, you know, imminently. Yeah. Oops, there we go. Oh, and thank you so much to everyone who is chatting in the chat below. I have enjoyed it so much, you know, chatting with you lovely ladies and things. You know, we've got such a lovely community, and I talked about this before, but I mean, I honestly feel like I really sort of know a lot of you, and so yeah, it's just been really, really lovely. So thank you so much. It's really nice chatting. Okay. Okay. Right, there we go. So that one, at least now that's kind of all purple. Otherwise it was going to hit the same sort of colours as the other ones. So, you know, the envelope colour. So I'm going to ink these up. I mean, to be honest, I might not even ink this one up. I might just leave it with the purples. I will ink this one. This one's been using my autumn papers. So it's, you know, it's looking a bit autumn coloured. And then these ones, are just quickly ink these. There we go. So they're quite nice, aren't they, when you have the two different papers? That kind of changes them a little bit and makes them look, you know, really quite pretty, doesn't it? So I have got the flat back pearls, which I've got a purple one. This might look a bit too much of an overdose of purple, but let's try it. Oh my goodness, I love how that looks so much. That's so gorgeous, isn't it? So let's just see. Thinking maybe just a flat back pearl in there. Yep, and then perhaps with the gem type pearls here. Let's just see what colours I've got. Okay. Pull some of these out. So, oh my gosh, that looks gorgeous, that one, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely love how that one looked. Oh my goodness, that one looks lovely too. Yeah. And this one, what colour? Maybe that. I mean, to be honest, that's weird, isn't it? Because that's a lilac, but it looks quite pretty on there. So, yeah. Let's pop that in. Oh my gosh, that's so lovely, isn't it? There we go. Yes, I mean, they're quite a good scrap buster, aren't they, to be honest? You know, they're, yeah, a good way to use up a few scraps and things like that. They are a bit time consuming, like I said, but I always think that the time consuming things, they're the ones that are great for a mass make, aren't they? Because they're the things that, you know, you don't necessarily want to be making as you go. You want to have them just ready made so you can grab them. So, you know, that's where I think the mass makes really come into their own, is with the, you know, slightly more fiddly or laborious things to make. So, oops. Okay. There we go. Like that. Oh my goodness, aren't they so pretty? I love them. So, like I said, I mean, I was having a bit of an off day today, craft-wise. My folding was not the best. I wasn't using the uniformy, you know, 4 petals kind of method that I normally would. But I think they've still turned out absolutely gorgeous, don't they? So I've got all these left to make a few more, so I'll make a few more probably in a moment. But these are the ones that we've made. So they're very pretty, aren't they? And they all look a little bit different. And then obviously to use these, you could obviously put them straight onto a page, or you could put them, you know, onto a side of a pocket, or for instance on an envelope or something. So let me just see if I've got anything that I could just pull in. I did have an envelope here, and now of course I can't see it. Oh, come on. No. Oh, what have I done with that? No, I can't see the envelope, I'm afraid now. So that's very annoying. But yeah, they would look absolutely scrumptious on a variety of things. So this was one of those that we did in a previous mass make, the Crafty Cat envelopes. Let's just show you on that one, for example, there. And to be honest, mine I've made quite roughly, but actually when you put them into a journal, they're going to be quite flat, you know. They're not going to kind of stick up too far or anything like that. But yeah, really hope that you like them. I mean, they're very, very cute. And yeah, hope that you enjoy making some. And yeah, keep your eye out obviously for the restock that's going to go into my shop later on this week. And yeah, really hope that you enjoyed the video. Do leave a comment in the chat below. That would be amazing. And maybe give this video a thumbs up as well. Thank you so much then. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks then. Bye.